Here I'm going to cover a few examples that should help you understand how to use some of the features I went over in the last video in actual 3D models that are provided in the book. So here we're going to start with a 2D sketch. So we're just going to sketch on this XY plane, and the model that we're going to be working with here is figure P3-17. So now that we're in our sketch mode, we're going to go over and we're going to start. I personally like to start with a block of material, because thinking about how we're going to be machining this material, this product, if we want to do it with like a CNC machine or something like that, we're going to in real life be starting with a raw block of material, and from there we'll be cutting away. If we're working with something that's probably going to be 3D printed, it makes a lot more sense to be, adding on different features. But when we're working with something that we think we might machine using like a CNC machine or something like that, removing features from a raw block of material, in my opinion, is the best way to go about it, because that incorporates your machining intent and makes it easier when you're actually working on creating the tool path and things like that. So what we're going to be working with is figure P-317, as I mentioned. So let me pull up, this is what it looks like. So here again, personally, I would start with a raw block of material and cut away from it. You don't have to do this. This course is more for the modeling aspect, is more for A, learning how to model a little bit better, and B, also really just learning how to apply the things that you learn in lecture, like how to apply tolerances and constraints and things like that to actual models. So you do not have to do it the way that I do it. If you want to add on material, feel free. If you want to do it the way that I do it, by all means. There's a lot of different ways to model these things. This is just personally how I was taught and how I appreciate doing it. So first thing we're going to start with then in that case is going to be our block of raw material. I'm currently working in inches. The actual figure itself says millimeters. Again, we're just practicing, so to me it doesn't matter, but if you want to follow along in millimeters to the book, by all means, go for it. So something cool that you can actually do in Inventor is you can do addition, subtraction, things like that in the actual dimension box. So here, if we're looking at our figure, it is 40 inches plus 15 inches across as the width. So what we can do is we can actually go 40 plus 15, and then down here it is, 50 inches up. So this is what we're going to be starting with. So personally, what I would do here is I'd finish the sketch and I would extrude it. So now you don't have to do it this way. Like I said, you can actually all in one sketch, maybe not all in one sketch, but in one sketch you can kind of draw out the base and add to it, things like that. But what I'm going to do is just cut out. So our distance that we're going to extrude it is 60 inches, or millimeters if you're working in millimeters. So here we'll have our 60 inches going lengthwise, and then 50 inches upwards and 55 inches across, because again, we did the addition to get both sides of that. So now you can create a work plane if you want to, but you can actually just click on this face and click Start 2D Sketch, and that will set that as what you're working off of. And my bad. Let's go back into that. We're going to edit sketch, and that will set it as what you're working off of. And an important thing to note, since we already have geometry, we can click our project geometry, and that will constrain it, or kind of set it so you can click easily on these edges. So it makes it a lot easier when you're working with projects or you're building directly off of something. So what I'm going to do here is I'm looking at this sketch, and I can see that little back end, let me pull this up, this little back end over here is 15 inches across and 18 inches long. So we're going to go and we're going to draw it, because we're looking at the front view, so we're going to want this to be 15 inches this way, so we'll put in 15 all the way down, because it goes all the way down, across, and back up. So there we have that. We'll click Finish Sketch, And so here we can come in and we can extrude this. So let's click that, and we're going to click the cut. And so here you see how it's going all the way through. We want to define a distance. So it is 60 minus 18 inches back, because you want this to be 18 and the total length is 60. So we're going to click OK, and there's our first sketch, and so our first cut into the block. So now looking at this, let's pull this up again. You can see that there's this angle. It's at a 45-degree angle. There's different ways you can do it. A very simple way to do it is just to start another sketch. Click on this side, and again, this is where your project geometry will come in handy. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make a randomly angled line of whatever length, and we'll come in here and we'll click our dimension. And so you can see here, looking back at this, that this is 22 inches tall. So this is where this starts. We don't have a dimension for this length, sadly, but using this dimension and this angle, and knowing that it goes all the way up to the top, we'll be able to just define this length, and this angle, this dimension will automatically be found. So we don't really need to worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to this dimension button, click here, click to the bottom, and we're going to make that 22 inches. And so then we're going to click here on this diagonal line, and we're going to click onto this straight line, this edge, because that, if you look again at our figure, you can see that it is a 45-degree angle defined off of this vertical line here. So let's go and click that, and here we'll set it, and we'll set it to 45, and that should automatically make this dimension the correct length. I'm not gonna, if I go from here to here, you'll see what length that is. You don't need to define it though, because as I said, it already is defined using these, or this length and this angle. So now what we're going to do to complete that sketch, you don't have to do it to complete it, to extrude it. It's just good practice to do so. We'll complete it, we'll click finish sketch, and from there we'll do another extrusion, and we'll do a cut this time, and this one goes all the way through, so we can just go through all, and that will give us the angle that we're looking for very easily, very quickly. You don't have to do a lot of extra stuff, very fancy things. It's just quickly defined, and there you go. So now, again, we could do a hole directly on there if we want to. I personally like doing sketches. I prefer to just do as much as I can in a sketch. So again, let's do our project geometry. We clicked on that. Now we're going to go and create our circle, or our hole, which is our circle. So we're just going to create a circle of 20 degrees in diameter, or 20 inches in diameter, my bad, apologies. And from this center, we're going to set it to be, what does that say, 30 inches from this right edge. So, oh, look, we're pretty close, 30 inches. And then here we're going to take the dimension again, and from the bottom edge, we're going to set that to be 18. So again, pretty close. So, oh, my bad, 18, not 28, 18. We're going to click finish sketch, and again, we can just do another extrusion. And looking again at the PowerPoint, you can say it's perpendicular, that's why we did our hole on the angled, on this angle here. And it also says through, so we're just going to go all the way through. We're just going to go all the way through. We're going to do a cut. And look at that, all the way through. So, I believe that's right, correct? Yeah, all the way through. Okay, so now we are done. I mean, this was a pretty simple one to work with, but as you can see, you know, it can be, look, that's the all the way through hole. Interesting, isn't it? You can do a lot of things with Inventor. You could do a lot of sketches, and there were other ways that you can do this part if you wanted to, but this was just a simple, quick way to do this one, and I'll cover another one in a second.